Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well today. So, I'm sure a lot of you have all heard about the Nintendo Switch 2 because it's a really popular thing going on right now. It just came out last week. It's a video game console, and I was very fortunate to be able to pre-order and get it last week. I know there were a lot of people who were upset they weren't able to get it. They tried to pre-order and it failed and stuff. There was a lot of a lot of stuff going on with that, but fortunately I was able to get it. And I went to the midnight release of it, and I thought that would be a pretty cool video, to teach people what it was like to go to a midnight launch. How does it feel being on the spectrum, having to deal with the crowds and stuff. And I wanted to explain to you my thought process, how I was feeling and what tips I used to help keep myself sane, basically. So, as I said, I pre-ordered the game. And on the day of the release, we had to go in the afternoon to prepay, to pay for the whole thing. And then at midnight, that's when they handed it out. You don't have to pay at midnight. You just, you show them the receipt and then they hand you your console and then you're on your way. Excuse me. So that's what we did. Everything was fine doing that. And then we left around 11:30. And it was raining that night, which just kind of adds to the chaoticness of it as well. It wasn't very fun. But, yeah, we got there, and when we went in, got into the parking lot, it didn't seem too busy. It didn't seem too bad. But then when I went into the store, it was really packed inside. There was a huge crowd. I think they said there was like 40 some people or 50 people that had pre-ordered it or something. I don't know. I didn't count the people there, but it was quite a big crowd. So when I went in there, I got in line and had to stand there for about 10 minutes because I went inside at around 11:50. So I had to wait around for 10 more minutes because I didn't want to be the last in line because people were still coming, so I had to get in and get my spot as soon as I could. So, yeah, it was a really big crowd. There were a lot of people, a lot of noise, and it's really an awkward thing for me because I was totally alone. Like, no, I didn't have anyone there to talk to or to spend time with or to kill time with, So I was just standing there alone, not saying one word, and just watching and listening to everyone else laughing and talking. A lot of people went there with their friends, or other people were making friends, on the spot and stuff, and I was just standing there awkwardly. It's a really uncomfortable feeling. Everyone's all having a jolly time, laughing and having a great time, and people on the spectrum, or at least, me personally, I'm really sensitive to noise and to being around crowds. I'm a bit claustrophobic, so having to sit in stand in a line, hearing all that noise and not being a part of it, I just felt so weird and awkward and pretty stressful, I'm not gonna lie. And it was, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It just was a very uncomfortable feeling. Like, it's kind of like Black Friday, I suppose. If you've ever been to Black Friday, people lining up and in the crowds and stuff waiting for the stores to open. It was kind of like that, I suppose. In fact, I've actually been to Black Friday once. Me and my mom did it a long time ago. And that's not something we agreed we'd never do that again. I mean, that's just for Black Friday for sales, but this is for video games, so this is a little bit more, I'm willing to do that for sure because I love video games, So, it was definitely hard to deal with. It's not the easiest, but I was able to overcome it because it was something that I wanted. And, some of you know that I was fortunate enough to announce the Detroit Pistons a few years ago. And now you want to talk about a stressful environment. Going to a stadium with how many people were there, like in the tens of thousands of people, and all that noise, the music and stuff, like that was a really stressful situation to be in. But I was able to achieve something that I had always wanted to do. I achieved a dream. I accomplished a dream. So I am willing to do things that stress me out, even if I'm not happy about it, even if it is stressful. But I'm willing to do it if I accomplish something that I really wanted to do, which in this case was the video game. So there I was standing in the crowd, waiting for 10 minutes, listening to everyone laugh and shouting and all that stuff, and it was very awkward, very uncomfortable, I was already getting stressed out. But usually some things that I usually do when I'm in that situation where I'm stressed out or in a crowd, all the noise and stuff, is usually I think of things that make me the happiest. And that specifically, I think that night I was mostly thinking of my favorite video game, which is Red Dead Redemption 2. Usually I'll think about like my favorite quotes and stuff, and I'll just basically take my mind to where I'm the happiest, which is playing Red Dead Redemption 2. So in my mind I was just thinking about my favorite characters, my favorite missions or whatever. And so, you know, I took my mind off of all that was going around me, and I just tried to put my mind, you know, put it somewhere where I'm really happy, where I'm like my happy place kind of thing, you know. So that's where that's what I was able to do to cope with the stress, you know. But it really was such an awkward feeling, you know, just being there in that crowd and, you know, just trying not to seem too weird, you know. And yeah, you know, but I was able to get through it. It was loud, it was stressful. It's definitely something that, you know, takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of dealing with it, you know. It's not something that anyone could just do, or at least for people on the spectrum, people who have sensitivities to this stuff. But I've been going to these midnight releases for about 15 years, yeah. I think the first midnight release was back in 2010 that I ever went to. So I've been doing this for a long time, so it's not anything super new, although I'll never get used to it, you know. I don't do this stuff very often, you know. It's definitely not something I do very much at all. But I do it because it's something that's worth it to me and that I enjoy and that I'm happy with. So, you know, I dealt with it. Fortunately, another thing that kind of confused me, this had never happened before in all the midnight releases I've been to, but then the employees came out and they said, they were lining us up in like the opposite order of our number that was on the receipt. When they give us a receipt, they have a sticker and a number on it. And so they said if it was like they were going in reverse of the numbers, so instead of it being 1 2 3, it was like 3 2 1, like it was going from the top or the highest number to the lowest. And so whoever had the highest numbers was in front of the line, and the ones who had the lowest were in the back. Well, I was the second highest number, so I was second in line to get my game. So I was very fortunate. I had no idea. I've never had it done that way before. I don't know if it's something new, but I'd never done it that way before. So I was very fortunate, because I would have been very upset if I had to be way at the back of the line. That would have been way too stressful. But I was kind of confused because, you know, I was kind of just standing there awkwardly because I didn't know what to do at first. I didn't really understand what they were saying, you know, because it was loud in there, and you know they had to get someone's attention, you know, they had to get the crowd's attention and stuff. It was like I was kind of confused. And then thankfully there were some people there, some of the people there who helped me. They told me where I was in line, my place, and so they were able to help me. So thanks to them, I was able to find out where to go, and so I got there. But it was so confusing because I was just like, where do I go? I don't know. So yeah, that worked out great. I was able to get my game really quickly. I was out of the store and starting up my game once I got home, and everything's all good now. So, but yeah, I just thought that would be a pretty interesting experience to tell you all what going to a midnight launch is like while you're on the spectrum. I suppose it'd probably be a lot better if I had friends to go with, you know, like if I took my friends or something, if I had friends and we went there together, we could be talking and killing time that way. That would be fun. But I was alone, didn't have no one to talk to, and I'm honestly very like awkward talking to like random strangers. I don't really do that very much. Like, I'm really shy. So like the idea of just walking up to one of the other people and being like, oh hey, you want to talk and this and that, just it would be kind of awkward for me. So mostly I just stood there waiting for it to be 12 o'clock and thinking of my favorite Red Dead Redemption 2 quotes and favorite memories of that game to keep my mind occupied while I'm listening to all the laughing and shouting and all the stuff that makes me feel uncomfortable, you know. So yeah, I hope that helps in some way. And if you have any more questions for me, feel free to ask. If I didn't cover anything, if there's something that you wanted to know about this experience, let me know. I'm always happy to help, you know, answer questions and all that stuff. So thank you so much for watching my videos. hope to see you all in the next one sometime next week, most likely. And have a great day and have a great rest of the week. Goodbye.